I never expected my life to implode inside a fluorescent-lit storage room behind a Colorado Springs coffee shop. But that's exactly where it happened, right between the dented metal shelf of holiday mugs and an expired case of oat milk. I was being fired. Again. "I'm sorry, Quinn," my manager Lila said, avoiding eye contact like I was contagious. "You're a sweet kid, but you can't just disappear in the middle of a shift." Disappear. Like I'd chosen for my car to die on the side of I-25 that morning. Like I'd enjoyed hiking 2 miles in freezing wind to make it here at all. "I called," I said, clutching the apron at my waist. "Twice. The rule is you have to speak to a supervisor." I swallowed hard. "Your voicemail isn't a supervisor?" She winced. "I need reliability right now. The owner's cutting hours as it is. I'm sorry." I'd been fired from worse jobs, but something about this one, this quiet, unglamorous job I'd hoped would help me avoid moving back in with my older sister and her critical husband, hit harder. I untied my apron slowly, determined not to cry in front of Lila. I'd done enough humiliating things lately. Tears would only add to the collection. "I'll get my things," I said, sounding far braver than I felt. I slipped past her, out to the alley behind the shop, where icy wind slapped my cheeks. Colorado Springs in November felt like living inside a wind tunnel. Gray sky, bitter cold. My breath a shaky cloud. My phone buzzed in my pocket. Final notice. Payment overdue. Student Loan Servicing Center. Great. Perfect timing. I leaned against the cold brick and let my head fall back, staring up at the heavy clouds rolling across Pikes Peak. A month ago, everything had felt manageable. Now my bills were swallowing me whole. I needed a miracle. Instead, I got a gunshot. The crack of it split the air so sharply I flinched, my bag tumbling from my shoulder. I wasn't imagining it. There'd been a flash somewhere beyond the chain-link fence behind the dumpsters, followed by fast, scuffling movement. Colorado Springs wasn't crime-free, but we weren't exactly Denver. Gunshots weren't normal. I should have run. Instead, I froze. Then I heard a man's voice, low, clipped, commanding. "Stay down." My heartbeat stuttered. Footsteps pounded toward the alley. Heavy, sure, controlled. A tall man rounded the dumpster, his stance wide, shoulders squared, a black tactical jacket unzipped just enough for me to see the holster strapped beneath it. His presence alone stole the air from my lungs. He wasn't a barista. He wasn't a customer. And the second his sharp gray eyes found mine, everything in him tightened. "You," he said, voice firm. "Inside. Now." I blinked, shivering. "What? I don't..." He closed the distance in 3 strides, not touching me, but radiating a force that made me move. "There was a shot," he said. "An attempt on a vehicle up the street. You're exposed here." An attempt. A shot. On a vehicle. "What does that... Who are you?" "Special security contractor," he said. "Defense sector. Move." This time when he jerked his chin toward the back door of the coffee shop, I listened. Except, it was locked. My boss must have locked it behind me. "I can't get in," I whispered. He muttered a curse under his breath. His eyes swept the alley in a fast, assessing scan, like he was calculating threats I couldn't even see. "Come with me," he said. "Now." "Why?" "Because if you stay here, you're a soft target." Soft target, oh God. Is this about that gunshot? "Yes." "And you're sure it's not fireworks or a truck backfiring or something?" He gave me a look that said he didn't have the patience for wishful thinking. "My job is to handle threats," he said. "Right now, that includes keeping you alive." A sharp chill ran through me that had nothing to do with the wind. I followed him because he looked like a man used to being obeyed. A man who didn't give orders unless disobedience meant danger. He led me to a charcoal gray SUV parked half a block away, its engine running, windows tinted. When he opened the passenger door, I hesitated. "I'm not supposed to get into cars with strangers." "Neither am I," he said dryly. "Yet here we are." Almost against my will, my lips twitched. But his expression stayed steel flat. Focused. Urgent. Look, he said, leveling his gaze on me. If I wanted to harm you, I wouldn't need a vehicle, and I definitely wouldn't still be talking. That's not comforting. It wasn't meant to be. It's meant to be credible. And somehow, it was. I climbed in, tense as a piano wire. He shut the door behind me, rounded the hood, and took the driver's seat with a controlled strength I could almost feel. Inside, the SUV smelled faintly of cedar and cold air. The dashboard was clean, organized, nothing unnecessary, like the man himself. He tapped his screen, scanning something that looked like a GPS-linked security feed. I cleared my throat. What exactly happened? He didn't answer immediately. He was listening, ears tuned to some frequency I couldn't hear. Finally, his voice dropped lower. Someone took a shot at my convoy. Convoy. Oh, God. Are you military? I asked. Former. He cut a glance toward me. Fort Carson. That explained the posture, the authority, the intensity. What do you do now? I run a private defense contracting firm. He paused. Ironside Tactical. I'd heard of it, mostly through news articles about government contracts and security briefings I didn't understand. Its CEO was supposedly brilliant, intimidating, and notoriously private. But before I could piece anything together, he spoke again. I'm Daniel Hart. The name landed like a weight. Daniel Hart, founder, CEO, 44 years old, decorated veteran, a man whose company employed hundreds and dealt with classified operations. And I was sitting in his passenger seat, unemployed, broke, a little bit cold, and very much out of my depth. I'm Quinn, I managed. Quinn Harper. Are you armed, Quinn? I gaped at him. Do I look armed? You'd be surprised, he said, eyes scanning the street. He drove slowly at first, checking mirrors, watching every angle like danger could leap from the sidewalk. After a moment, he exhaled. Okay, I think we're clear. My pulse began to slow, barely. So, you rescued me, I said softly. He shot me a look. I relocated you. From possibly being shot. That wasn't the primary threat. I blinked. There was a worse one? His jaw flexed subtly. Let's just say whoever fired that shot wasn't aiming for you, but they wouldn't have hesitated to hit you if you'd gotten in the way. I shivered again. We'll circle back, he murmured, navigating through the afternoon traffic. The street signs blurred past. Tejon Street, Cascade Avenue, downtown growing closer. I gathered my courage. Why were you here? At the coffee shop? Picking up a file from one of my men. We were supposed to meet in the alley. Oh. Then, another realization struck. And you're driving me? Where exactly? A safe location. That sounds ominous. It's safer than random public sidewalk, he said. I didn't argue, but as the car moved deeper into downtown, another thought surfaced, sending heat to my cheeks. You don't have to babysit me, I said. Really, I'm sure you have more important things to do. I do. Ouch. But leaving you in an unsecured location without verifying the threat has passed is negligent, and I don't do negligent. His tone left no room for argument. We drove in silence for a few minutes, the mountains looming large in the rearview mirror. I could feel him, his presence, his intensity, his focus, more than I could feel the seat beneath me. He was the kind of man whose attention, once directed at something, became an unbreakable tether. Finally, he pulled into a parking garage near a tall slate and glass building. The sign outside read, Hart Security Complex. He parked in a private underground level, then turned to me. We'll go upstairs to my office. His voice softened, barely. I need to file an incident report. You'll stay there until I'm certain you're not at risk. A lump formed in my throat. I'm really not used to people looking out for me. You call this looking out? He asked, brow lifting. This is protocol. Still, it's more than most people do. He studied me for a moment, the hard angles of his face shifting, just slightly, as if something softened behind his eyes. Come on, he said. Stay close, Inside the elevator, the air felt tighter. He stood beside me, tall enough that I barely reached his shoulder. His presence was heat and gravity, energy and restraint. When the elevator doors opened, he guided me down a hallway lined with frosted glass offices until we reached a door labeled Daniel Hart, Executive Director. His office was nothing like I expected, not cold or sterile. It was spacious, warm, anchored by floor-to-ceiling windows, revealing snow-dusted rooftops and distant mountains. He gestured toward a leather chair. "Sit. Don't touch the desk." "Why? Does it explode?" "No." A faint, reluctant smirk. "Sensitive documents." I sank into the chair. My heart still hadn't caught up with the afternoon's chaos. He shrugged off his jacket, revealing broad shoulders beneath a fitted black sweater. His sleeves were pushed up just enough to show corded forearms, veins shifting as he typed rapidly on his keyboard. I tried to look anywhere but at him. "When can I leave?" I asked quietly. "When I'm sure you're safe." "Which is when?" He paused typing, eyes lifting to meet mine. Gray, sharp, unwavering. "When I say so." Heat curled low in my stomach at the authority in his tone. He looked away first, clearing his throat before returning to his computer. I watched him for a long moment, unsure why I felt drawn to his calm intensity, his competence, his careful control. Then, a buzz. A brief alert on his screen. His expression changed, tightened, sharpened, darkened. "What?" I breathed. He turned the monitor slightly, enough for me to see a blurry still frame of someone running through the alley behind the coffee shop. My stomach dropped. Daniel's voice was low, deadly precise. "Quinn, that shot wasn't random." "What do you mean?" His gaze locked onto mine. "They weren't shooting at me." My pulse roared in my ears. "They were shooting at you." The room tilted, and that was the moment everything shifted. When the powerful, controlled 44-year-old defense contractor realized the danger trailing him had somehow entangled me, I wasn't free to go. I wasn't safe. And Daniel Hart wasn't about to let me out of his sight. Not anymore. The world didn't quite steady after Daniel said the words. "They were shooting at you." Me. A broke, recently fired barista with nothing anyone would want. "That doesn't make sense," I whispered. Daniel's jaw tensed as he closed the monitor and stood. "Sense isn't required for danger to be real. Someone fired with intent. The trajectory wasn't toward my team, and it wasn't a warning shot. It tracked your position." My throat tightened. "But why would anyone target me?" "That's what we're going to find out." He moved across the office to a wall panel and entered a code. A portion of the wall slid open, revealing a narrow room with reinforced steel flooring and a large table covered in tactical maps and equipment. I stared. It felt like stepping into a secret layer of his world, one I was never meant to see. "Come in," he said. I hesitated at the threshold. He paused, reading my fear with unsettling precision. "You're safe here," he added, his voice softer but still authoritative. "I wouldn't bring you anywhere I couldn't protect you." I believed him. I shouldn't have, but I did. Inside, the room hummed with quiet energy. Hidden monitors flickered to life. Daniel scanned through footage, his brows drawn in concentration. "You're sure it wasn't just some random—" "No." He cut me off gently. "Random doesn't follow a moving target. That shooter had you locked." I wrapped my arms around myself. This morning I'd worried about paying rent. Now I was apparently being hunted. "Daniel?" My voice cracked. "I don't know anything. I don't have enemies." His gaze flicked to me, sharp and searching. Everyone has something someone else wants. A connection, a mistake, a secret. "I'm boring. I promise." He didn't smile this time. His expression only grew more intense. "I saw your face when you got that text outside the cafe," he said. "The past month hasn't been easy for you, has it?" Heat spread over my cheeks. "How did you—" "You looked wrecked," he said simply, "and people in distress are vulnerable to exploitation." I swallowed hard. "I'm not in trouble like that." He stepped closer, just a foot, but the air shifted. Quinn. My name in his voice sounded like protection and warning intertwined. Someone fired a weapon at you. That puts you under my jurisdiction until I know why. Jurisdiction? I'm responsible for what happens on my watch, and right now, like it or not, you're on it. Before I could respond, his office door flew open. A tall woman with a clipped blonde bob stepped inside. She wore a charcoal blazer and moved with the same alert sharpness Daniel did. Sir? She stopped when she saw me. Her eyes narrowed. Who's this? Daniel didn't flinch. This is Quinn Harper. She witnessed the incident in the alley. She's now a protected civilian until we identify the shooter. The woman's gaze cut through me like a blade, assessing, calculating. Why her? That's what we're determining, he said. She frowned. We need to talk. Daniel nodded toward me. Stay in the office. I'm not a child, I muttered. No, he said, gaze steady. You're someone who's shaken, scared, and being targeted. So please, stay. He didn't wait for an answer. He and the blonde woman stepped into the hall, closing the door behind them. I exhaled sharply and sank into the chair at his small conference table, rubbing my arms to warm myself. This wasn't my world. This world of tactical threats and classified feeds and people who looked at danger like it was routine. Through the glass, I could just barely make out their silhouettes, animated, intense conversation. The woman seemed angry. Daniel looked unmovable. I shouldn't have listened, but I did. Reckless, Daniel. She's a civilian. She's in danger. Then send her to local police. We don't have the bandwidth. She stays. The woman's voice dropped lower, sharper. Is this about what happened last year? You can't save everyone. You can't. Daniel's voice cut her off, low and lethal. Enough. Last year? What happened last year? Before I could piece anything together, Daniel returned, his expression unreadable. Everything okay? I asked. He didn't answer directly. I'm taking you out of the building. My stomach sank. Where? To my home. I blinked. What? No, absolutely not. That's weird. It's secure, he said. Better than any safe house my team can prep quickly, and you shouldn't be alone tonight. My pulse fluttered. I don't know you. I saved your life today. That doesn't mean I should sleep under your roof. You won't be sleeping, he said flatly. We'll be running background checks, going through possible links, debriefing you, and monitoring threat chatter. So, working? All night? Yes. The thought of spending an entire night with this intense, unreadable man made heat curl low in my stomach again. Heat I definitely didn't want to admit. But what if the shooter wasn't aiming at me? I tried one last time. What if you're overreacting? He stepped closer. The air tightened. I've been doing this for 20 years, he said quietly. And I do not overreact. The edge in his voice cut right through my resistance. Okay, I whispered. He took my bag, gently, careful not to brush my hand, and slung it over his shoulder. Let's go. Daniel's house wasn't a house. It was a fortress disguised as a sleek, modern cabin perched near the foot of Cheyenne Mountain. Floor-to-ceiling windows, stone and cedar construction, a long driveway with multiple security gates. Inside, everything was minimalist but warm. Dark woods, leather, soft lighting. Not cold, but controlled. You can set your things there, he said, pointing toward a velvet bench near the fireplace. You're not leaving tonight, so get comfortable. Comfortable. Right. I slipped off my jacket, feeling hyper-aware of everything. My messy hair, my faded jeans, the fact that I absolutely didn't belong in a house like this. Daniel locked several coded panels and checked security feeds before joining me in the living room. Sit, he said. I sat. He took the chair opposite mine. Not beside me, not too close. But his presence still felt overwhelming. Tell me about your last month, he said. I frowned. My month? Yes, finances, work, personal connections, anything that changed recently. Heat crept up my neck. I didn't realize this would involve my personal failures. This involves anything that creates vulnerability, he replied calmly. I need the full picture. I sighed, then told him everything. How my student loan payments had become impossible, how I'd worked 2 part-time jobs but lost one last week, how my landlord had given me a final warning about rent. Daniel listened without judgment, hands steepled, eyes sharp. Anyone new in your life? He asked. Anyone you owe money to besides your loan servicer? No. Any online contact that seemed strange? No. He leaned back slightly. Anyone who might want to scare you? No, I whispered, and then, softer, I'm really not important enough for anyone to target. The look he gave me was unreadable, but intense. Don't diminish yourself, he said. Something warm fluttered inside me. I cleared my throat. What about you? What did that woman in your office mean about last year? Daniel's jaw flexed. He didn't answer immediately, and for the first time since I'd met him, he looked unsettled. That's not relevant, he said finally. It sounded relevant. His eyes darkened. I don't discuss that. The message was clear. Boundary, hard line, immovable. I nodded, even though curiosity burned inside me. He stood abruptly. You're exhausted. I'll show you the guest room. You'll try to rest. I'll be monitoring feeds from my office. Rest? Sure. As if sleep was possible with a mystery shooter and a powerful man pacing his secure command center downstairs. But I followed him down a wide hallway lined with framed maps and medals, bits of his life I didn't understand but wanted to. He opened a door to a softly lit guest room with a plush bed and a mountain view. If you need anything, I'll hear you, Daniel said. Because of surveillance? I asked. Because I'm not going far. Something in his voice made my breath catch. He turned to leave, but I spoke before I could stop myself. Daniel. He paused. Why are you really doing all this for me? I asked quietly. I mean, I'm a stranger. He turned back, eyes steady on mine. You were in the wrong place at the wrong time, he said. And I've lost someone before because I didn't act fast enough. My breath hitched. That was it. The shadow behind his eyes. The thing he didn't talk about. Good night, Quinn, he said, softer. Then he disappeared down the hall. I lay awake for what felt like hours, staring at the ceiling, the moonlight slicing through the curtains. Every noise made my muscles tense. Every creak felt like danger. But the strangest part wasn't the fear. It was the pull. Daniel Hart was the last person I should be drawn to. Older, powerful, emotionally locked down, wrapped in secrets and scars. And yet, my pulse quickened just thinking of him pacing downstairs, analyzing threats, using that brilliant mind to protect someone like me. I finally slipped out of bed. The house was quiet. Too quiet. I padded down the hall and found his office door half open. Light spilled into the hallway. Daniel stood with his back to me, hands braced on the desk, head bowed. His sweater pulled tight across his shoulders, his posture heavy with a weight I didn't understand. He looked tired, vulnerable, human. I didn't think, just stepped closer. Daniel? He stiffened, lifting his head. His eyes, when they met mine, held something raw. You should be in bed, he said, voice lower than before. I couldn't sleep. He nodded just once. I hesitated, then spoke softly. You don't have to go through this alone. His jaw tightened. This isn't your burden. But you're carrying it anyway. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then his voice dropped, barely above a whisper. You don't know what you're offering, Quinn. Then tell me. He closed his eyes briefly, as if wrestling with something inside himself. When he opened them, the walls were back. This, he said, gesturing between us, can't happen. I'm responsible for your safety, not your emotions. My breath caught. I didn't say... You didn't have to, he murmured, his voice roughened with restraint. Go back to bed. I swallowed hard. Daniel, please. The word cracked with something he was trying very hard to hide. Before I forget where the line is. That was the moment I realized the truth. He felt it too. The pull, the tension, the forbidden spark. But he wouldn't let himself cross the line. Not because he didn't want to, but because he wanted to too much. I stepped back slowly. Good night, I whispered. He didn't answer. He just stood there, shoulders tense, fighting a war I wasn't allowed to see. And I walked away knowing something had shifted irrevocably between us, even if he spent the rest of the night pretending it hadn't. I didn't sleep after leaving Daniel's office. Not really. I drifted in and out, my mind replaying the look in his eyes when he told me to go back to bed. The restraint, the pain, the want he refused to acknowledge. By dawn, the guest room felt too quiet, too warm, too safe for how chaotic my insides were. When I finally sat up, pale morning light stretched across the mountains outside. I wrapped my sweater around myself and stepped into the hall. Daniel wasn't in the living room. He wasn't in the kitchen. I heard him before I saw him. The low murmur of his voice drifting up the stairs, sharp, clipped, all business. I followed it to a glass-paneled room I hadn't noticed last night, his training space. Daniel stood at the center, speaking into a headset while a holographic map displayed glowing red points across a Colorado Springs street grid. His hair was slightly mussed, his eyes shadowed. He'd clearly been up all night. No chatter on the channels, he was saying. Nothing on the border feeds? What about the drone sweep? A pause. His jaw tightened. Run it again. Expand the grid. He removed the headset, rubbing the back of his neck. Daniel? I said softly. He turned fast, too fast, and his expression changed when he saw me. The hardness cracked for a split second. Morning? He said. You should have slept longer. I tried. I hesitated. You haven't slept at all, have you? Not important. It is to me. His eyes flicked away, as though the words hit harder than I intended. Coffee? He asked. I nodded. He brushed past me, and even the small rush of air as he moved made my breath catch. He filled the kitchen with his presence, tall, quiet, composed even in exhaustion. While he poured coffee into two mismatched mugs, I gathered myself. Any updates? I asked. He handed me a mug. Yes, but you're not going to like them. Tell me anyway. 2 things, he said, leaning against the counter. 1. Whoever fired at you yesterday knew the timing of my alley pickup. They weren't after random civilians. They were waiting. A chill ran down my spine. And 2, he continued. When we tried running your name through security databases this morning, something flagged. I nearly dropped the mug. Flagged? What does that mean? It means your name has appeared in encrypted communication we haven't been able to decode yet. I blinked. Daniel, I swear, I don't have any secret connections. I'm barely connected to my landlord and my loan servicer. He gave me a long, steady look. I know. That's what makes this strange. So, someone's using my name. Possibly. But why? That's what I'm trying to determine, he said. But until I do, you stay with me. I swallowed. How long is until? His voice dropped. As long as it takes. At any other time in my life, a sentence like that would have terrified me. Being tethered to a stranger, especially one so powerful, so controlled. But with Daniel, somewhere between last night's confession and this morning's exhaustion, etched into the lines of his face, I realized something quietly devastating. I didn't want to leave, even if staying meant danger, uncertainty, complication, even if staying meant wanting him more than I should. We spent the morning reviewing every piece of my life, names, places, connections, old college contacts. By noon, we'd eliminated virtually every possibility. It's not personal, Daniel concluded eventually. You're part of something bigger, a thread someone's pulling. I leaned back on the sofa, overwhelmed. I'm sorry, I whispered. His brow furrowed. Why are you apologizing? Because I've turned your life upside down. You should be negotiating contracts or managing your company or doing literally anything besides playing bodyguard to someone who can't even keep a barista job. He walked toward me, slow, measured. He stopped right in front of me, his shadow casting across my lap. "Look at me," he said. I lifted my gaze. His voice softened. "You didn't ask for this, and I don't consider protecting you an inconvenience." "Then what do you consider it?" His throat bobbed. For one breath, two, he didn't answer. Something pulled across his features, a mix of restraint and longing and something deeper. Then he stepped back, but his voice held a fracture. "We'll get answers, I promise." By mid-afternoon, Daniel's team had sent new information. When the alert came through on his desktop, he froze. Then he said a single quiet, lethal word. "No." "What is it?" I asked. He opened the file, a newspaper clipping.
An article headline from last year. Unidentified woman killed in ambush meant for CEO of Ironside Tactical. My heart dropped. "Daniel." He closed the screen, but not before I saw the photo of a burned car lot, police tape fluttering in the sun. His voice was gravel. "That's what my deputy hinted at yesterday. That's why she thinks I shouldn't involve myself this time." "You cared about her," I whispered. He hesitated, then nodded once. "She was a junior analyst. Brilliant. Kind. She got caught in the crossfire of a threat meant for me. I never forgave myself. Pieces of him were falling into place. The control, the rigidity, the harsh boundaries. And now," he said quietly, "someone is using your name. Someone who knows I can't ignore an innocent person in danger." Understanding hit. "You think someone is baiting you," I said. "I don't think," he said. "I know." Silence stretched, then why keep helping me?" I whispered. "If it puts you in danger?" He stepped closer again, his voice roughened with honesty. "Because leaving you unprotected isn't an option for me. But what if that's exactly what they want?"
"Quinn?" His gaze cut through me. "You are not bait. You are a person, and you deserve to be safe." My eyes stung. He looked almost angry at the emotion on my face, as if my vulnerability hurt him. "I don't understand you," I whispered. He closed his eyes briefly, exhaling. "Neither do I." That night, the world changed again. We were sitting on the couch, laptops open, documents scattered. I was trying to help, even if helping meant offering moral support and Google searches that probably annoyed him. Daniel was scanning a new encrypted dataset when he suddenly shot to his feet. "Found it," he breathed. I stood too. "Found what?" He brought the screen to me. It wasn't my name. It was my address, my exact apartment number, my building, a timestamp from 2 days ago. Somebody had been watching me long before I met Daniel. My knees weakened. "They were tracking you," Daniel said. "Not because of me. Not because of yesterday." "Then why?" He turned to me, his expression fierce and protective. "Because you live in the same complex as a whistleblower we've been investigating for months." Everything snapped into focus. "They weren't aiming at me," I breathed. "They thought I was her." He nodded. "You were collateral in their attempt to silence a federal witness." I sat heavily. "So I'm not in danger anymore." Daniel studied me for a long moment. "The threat is significantly reduced," he admitted. "But they still flagged your name. They still took a shot in your direction. Until the arrest is made, I'm not letting you out of my sight." I should have protested. Instead, warmth surged in my chest. "Daniel." He looked torn, like he was fighting every instinct in his body, the instinct to stay close, to protect, to want. "Quinn," he said, lowering himself onto the couch beside me. "This shouldn't have happened to you. But it did, and you kept me safe." He shook his head. "I didn't keep the last person safe. You can't carry that forever." He looked at me, really looked at me, and something in him cracked open, quietly, painfully, beautifully. "I was afraid," he said, barely audible. "Of what?" that wanting you would cloud my judgment. My heart thundered. And does it? Yes. His jaw worked. God, yes. Before I could think, I reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. You're not alone anymore, I whispered. His eyes softened. Quinn. I leaned in, slow, unsure, unsteady. He met me halfway. The kiss was gentle at first, tentative, as though he feared he'd break something fragile. But when I curled my fingers into his sweater, he exhaled softly, and the restraint in his body melted into something warm and unguarded. When he finally pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. I shouldn't, he whispered. But you did. And I'm not sorry. Neither was I. The next morning, federal agents arrested the whistleblower's hunter, an ex-contractor linked to illegal weapons trafficking. Daniel's team got a full confession. The danger was over. I packed my few things into the same bag I'd carried into Daniel's SUV. When I reached the living room, Daniel was waiting, hands in his pockets, expression unreadable. So that's it, I said. I can go. You can, he agreed quietly. But you don't want me to. His eyes flickered. Wanting isn't the issue. It is for me. Silence stretched, fragile and charged. Finally, he exhaled. I don't do relationships, Quinn. My life is dangerous. My world is rigid. I give instructions, not comfort. You've given me more comfort in 2 days than anyone has in years. His jaw tightened. I can't promise you easy. I stepped closer. I didn't come here for easy. He looked at me then, really looked, and something surrendered in his expression. Tell me what you want, he murmured. You, I said simply. Not the CEO, not the contractor, just the man who refused to leave me alone in the dark. His breath hitched, and then he closed the distance between us in 3 long strides and pulled me into his arms. Not possessive, not controlling, just whole. I'll try, he whispered into my hair. For you, I'll try. I smiled against his chest. That's all I want. His arms tightened. Then stay, he said. Stay with me. And I did. Because danger had brought us together. Fear had forced us to trust. But love, the slow, quiet, unexpected kind, was what made me stay. And Daniel, for all his walls and scars, finally let me in. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a new chapter of slow burn, emotional, age gap romance. Drop a comment and tell me your favorite moment. Was it their first spark, the tension, the heartbreak, or the final surrender? And if you know someone who would love a story filled with longing, redemption, and powerful connection, share it with them. Your support means everything and helps more listeners discover these stories. Thank you for being here.